You're listening to the Laura Ingraham Show here in Des Moines, WHO, the big talker here in Iowa. And look what the cat dragged into our studio. Born Free. Oh, well, that's a Kid Rock theme, and the theme for, of course, Mitt Romney's presidential campaign. And Mitt Romney, the former governor, the great state of Massachusetts, where my family's from, and, of course, his beautiful wife, Ann, both with us on your healthy radio addiction, 800-876-4123. You'll have a chance to ask a question of the governor, and keep it pithy, please, to quote my boss, Bill O'Reilly. It was great to see you both. How are you?
Terrific, Laura. How are you doing?
I'm great. And we were at Santorum's big event last night, and then at your event, and I was impressed by what happened with the heckler. Are you dealing with those hecklers a lot, Governor?
That was actually the first time. We've been planning on that. There were some 25 that were taken out before the event, and then a group of about 10 who were interspersed in the audience began heckling. But I made the point that, hey, that's a great thing about America. People can express their views, and, I'm looking forward to having some of our friends express our views next time Barack Obama's in town.
But you're not saying that Republicans should go out and disrupt Barack Obama's speeches like that guy did, are you?
Not in that way, no. We just want to make sure that our message is clear. I remember one time Bill Clinton was coming to Massachusetts. I was John Q's citizen at the time. I just stood on the side of the road holding a sign that said, shame.
Oh, is that a new story? Because I've never heard that. That's a good one word.
That's a good one word. I don't think I've said that to anybody, but, Laura, you bring out the best.
I'll see. You do all these interviews, and I gotta get to the real Mitt Romney. And Ann, look, I see you coming in here looking fresh as a daisy. The rest of us are just dragging. I've been in Utah, your old stomping grounds, Governor, and you guys have been going through this brutal campaign. Santorum's family looks terrific. I saw them last night. How do you do this? For most people, they don't realize it's up in the morning at the crack, and you're to bed oftentimes midnight. Grab a meal here and there. Although I'm going to talk to you about what you ate for breakfast, sir, today. Ann, how do you do it? Really, how are you doing
honestly, this? It is hard. People should recognize that this is not an easy process, and it gets very wearing. And you can see that people's emotions get frayed, and they're. It's a difficult process, no question about it.
Was it hard for you to get into the commercials and express your own personal affection and love for your husband in the way that you did? Because some people thought, oh, she's commenting on Newt Gingrich. She's commenting the fact that he may not have been there in the same way your husband was there for you in a difficult time with his previous wife. Was that hard for you to do that?
Not at all. They actually just had me talk. They didn't even no one gave me a script. I was interviewed and just asked for about 30 minutes how I felt about different things. And there was never any intention for that comparison to be made. It's my story. It's Mitt's story. I was speaking from the heart and relating an experience in my life where I know Mitt is the kind of guy, the kind of character that we need as a president. Because I think people, if it matters to me, may not matter to everybody. Character, but it does to me. And
when you got that diagnosis, as someone who's had a bad diagnosis as well, that really that cuts you to the core. And it is important to have that safety net and that sort of cone of affection around you. But nevertheless, people took it as a jab at Gingrich. There's no doubt.
Well, that's, people can take it how they want to take it, but they can also take and look at how, we've led our life and the kind of husband Mitt has been to me. And that's the lens that I want. There's all these different lenses that people look at Mitt, from his business perspective as a governor, as a turnaround guy from the Olympics. But my lens is through the personal side, the family side. And so it's another way for people to understand Mitt. And
multidimensional.
Yeah, it's there's more to him than he's, by the way, the greatest governor or the greatest turnaround guy at the Olympics. All those stories are fantastic. But there's another piece to Mitt that I think people need to know about.
And Governor, the campaign so far has been, fairly rough and tumble. We've had all these people rise and fall. You've kind of remained steady, and 28%, I think, is the high water mark in national polls. But nevertheless, you've stayed steady. You haven't lost ground. Other candidates have. Newt Gingrich today was on CBS Morning News, and he said this.
You said of Mitt Romney, somebody who will lie to you to get to be president will lie to you when they are president. I have to ask you, are you calling Mitt Romney a liar?
Yes. What
Why
else
are
can
you
say?
saying he's a liar?
This is a man whose staff created the PAC. His millionaire friends fund the PAC. He pretends he has nothing to do with the PAC. It's baloney.
talking about Super PAC ads, the Romney Super PAC. What's your reaction to that? You're a liar now, according to Newt Gingrich.
Well, I don't know why he's so angry.
Well, he's angry because he sees himself, he's lacerated in commercial after commercial, and he gets a 98.6% pro-life voting record, yet, the Super PAC's trying to say that he's like a big squish on abortion. That's why he's mad.
I think he's mad for a lot of reasons, but I think he's a good guy. I like his wife, Callista. Wish him well. This could be a long campaign. And, I think we're going to plow ahead. By the way, of course the Super PAC that is working for me is I know the people there. Of course I helped raise money for it, but the law says I can't tell them what kind of ads to run or when to run them or where to run them. That's the law that we have to live by. We're not allowed to coordinate with these entities. And if they make mistakes or say things that are wrong, I decry that. Don't say things that are dishonest. But the idea of being upset about contrast and people pointing out the record of other people, that's part of politics. This has gone on since Jefferson versus Adams. Is
this a thin-skinned Newt Gingrich we're saying?
I don't know. I'm not going to try and psychoanalyze.
You are not going to get into this, are you? Are you saying above it because that looks more presidential?
I just don't think it's productive to try and go after people on a personal basis. This is obviously a tough time for the speaker, and wish him well, and we'll see how this develops. Look, I can't guarantee who's going to be the nominee. I hope it's me, but it could be him. It could be Rick Santorum. Rick's doing well. We'll see what happens down the road. But the nice thing about having run a second time is I'm a little more cognizant of the fact that this is kind of out of my control. The people are going to do what the people do. I respect the voice of the people. I'll support our nominee. And all I can do until then is to point out what I believe, point out the distinctions between my record and that of other people, and let them make the choice.
And the idea of forming an alliance with whomever is the nominee, even if you don't agree on every issue, I think that's attractive to a lot of people. Because, look, no candidate is going to represent all of your views perfectly. That's just a fact. Nevertheless, the Republican Party has a core and very active constituency of Tea Partiers. And this guy, Judson Phillips, was out, I believe, yesterday, the day before, and he said this about you as the potential nominee.
The Tea Party will never rally behind Mitt Romney. Iowa is just the first. We've done surveys on our site where it shows 1/3 to 1/2 of the Tea Party members will not vote for Mitt Romney if he's the nominee in the general election.
Why is he, a very influential Tea Party chief, saying this about you?
Well, I don't know that there are Tea Party chiefs. I have people who are some of the most prominent voices in the Tea Party that have endorsed me, and I appreciate their help. Jennifer Horn in New Hampshire, for instance, that leads a group called We the People. I think she'd call herself a Tea Partier, and she's endorsed me. I see great support from Tea Partiers across the country. Frankly, what Tea Partiers I hear from are concerned about is a government that's too big and too intrusive. And that's one of the reasons I'm running, is to scale back on this on government and its intrusiveness in our lives, the taxes it takes from us. It's too big of a bite. It's too burdensome on the ability of enterprise to grow and thrive in this country. So I'm pretty pleased with the fact that I get good support from Tea Partiers.
Do you have enough support to beat Obama? Do you have if you're the nominee, do you have enough people on the ground to go door to door for you, Mitt Romney, as Gingrich called you yesterday, the Massachusetts moderate? Will a Massachusetts moderate, if that's the brand, will that beat a Barack Obama with $1 billion?
Well, don't take Speaker Gingrich's branding as to who I am. The people in New Hampshire, the people, frankly, across the country saw me run 4 years ago, and I think Mike Huckabee and I were pretty clearly the conservative alternatives in the race, and I have the same positions today I had 4 years ago. So that brand won't work, and the truth is that we will get behind our nominee because Barack Obama has been a very effective community organizer of our community. We are anxious to have him out of office and return America to a person who knows the founding principles of this country are the guideposts for us as we go forward.
And with a group like the Tea Party, I mean, it's hard, right? Because people like John Boehner have had difficulty kind of managing all the different viewpoints in the Republican Party. Ditto with Mitch McConnell. I mean, in Congress. It's been hard, right? Because there are different viewpoints within the party. Nevertheless, you do need those people, and it's hard. There's not one group. There's the Tea Party patriots, and there's these other patriots and the other Tea Party, but you do need to appeal to them while appealing to independents, again, if you are the eventual nominee. Do you not have to appeal to the Tea Party?
Of course you have to appeal to 50.1% of the people.
How will you reassure them?
Well, look at my record. Read my book.
They are looking at your record.
Good. And if you look at my record, I balanced the budget all 4 years I was governor. We cut taxes 19 times. I had the state police empowered to enforce immigration laws. We had English immersion brought into our schools. We drove our schools to being #1 in the nation. Now, if people think 95% of my record conforms with their views, I hope that's enough for them to vote for me. But I know that you're going to find at least 5% you don't agree with, and that's going to be true with almost anyone. We're going to have a candidate who's big enough to bring Tea Partiers to vote for us and independents to vote for us, because you know what? We don't want 32% of the vote in the general election. We want 50.1 or more.
So, do you believe that you will be indeed a transformational candidate, a candidate who like Ronald Reagan, could appeal to those middle ground, middle of the road voters, and even disaffected Democrats who see that the hope and change didn't quite work out for them, their families, and their communities? Will you be transformational, or will you be a cautious leader?
I have to be transformational. The only way we can bring Americans, Hispanic Americans, for instance, to say, you know what, I'm going to vote for Republican because this person believes in opportunity. This person's going to get better jobs for Americans, keep us strong internationally. We have to have that kind of message, or we won't win, because beating an incumbent is hard. It doesn't happen very often. And this guy is extremely articulate. He will blame everybody but himself for his own failures. And I have to have a message that connects with the American people across a broad spectrum of political perspectives.
When we come back, former Governor Romney and his wife Ann are going to talk about this life on the campaign trail and what it's like as a wife to see the criticisms pile up one after the other. It's just starting, really. It's going to get a lot worse if indeed former Governor Romney is the nominee of the party. There's a lot that will happen before that happens, before that title is given to you, but nevertheless, we got to get into that. And also, we're going to talk about how America competes with a country like China, with how it cheats, with how it manipulates, and how it distorts markets. Mitt Romney on the China question and Ann on the campaign when we come back. Stay with us.
I think people recognize that I'm not a partisan Republican, that I'm someone who is moderate, and that my views are progressive, and that I'm going to go to work for our senior citizens, for people who've been left behind by urban schools that are not doing the right job, and so they're going to vote for me regardless of the party label.
I have to play that soundbite. I mean, that was
thanks
Mitt,
a lot.
Sorry,
thanks a lot.
Mitt Romney saying I'm a progressive, I'm kind of a moderate, I'm not a down the line Republican. Is that the way you feel today?
You know, I've learned from experience. I've become more conservative as I've lived a little longer, as I spent more time in business, as I've actually spent time as governor. When I came in as governor, I found I had an agenda in front of me that was very different than I might have expected, a $3 billion budget shortfall. I had to go through and eliminate programs. By the way, I cut state employment. My 4 years as governor, there were fewer people working for my administration, my government, the agencies that reported to me, than when I began. I became more conservative as time has gone on. I'm not embarrassed to say that. It happens to be the truth. And
do you like the progressive Mitt better than the more conservative Mitt? Which Mitt is more appealing?
I like Mitt anyway. He's my sweetheart.
And how is the boys and everyone? How's everybody holding it together? I mean, it's a Romney here and a Romney there. I mean, you saw them scattered everywhere. I mean, I couldn't keep track of them last night. There's so many.
That was a beautiful thing about running 4 years ago, is that each of us won a state without Mitt being there. We decided our track record was better without Mitt in the state. So
it's better with the boys there?
Yeah, the boys would take states. Josh went to Alaska. Tag went to Maine. Ann went to Minnesota.
South Dakota.
And South Dakota.
What's the deal behind Tag? Tell me. Did you like to play tag as a child? What was that?
No.
His name is Taggart.
Taggart is a family name.
Taggart.
It's a family. It's a name we just liked. And you see the rest of the names of the boys are Matthew, Joshua, Benjamin, and Craig. So we experimented. We were young then when we were.
You didn't. At least you didn't name the child after a piece of furniture, which is what happens today with the crazy naming of children. Governor, one thing I think people are really hoping for is someone who comes into this White House and doesn't play the same old Republican establishment, quote, elite games with the American voters. I think people have seen it like the Bushes. I know Bush 41 endorsed you. Patriotic man, a wonderful person, but not necessarily conservative, not necessarily making those transformational decisions. Will you be a different type of Republican and more conservative than the Doles, the McCains, the Bushes who came before you? Do you think you will?
Well, let's just talk about the issue that'll hit us immediately. We're on track to become Greece or Italy. We have perhaps 2-3 years to get our house in order. If I become president of the United States, I will have to dramatically scale back the size of the federal government.
They didn't.
And they didn't. The government grew. Of course, it was a very different time. Our debt was relatively small as a percentage of our GDP. Now, we're bumping up against numbers that look a lot like Italy and ultimately like Greece. We can't go on like this. Part of that is because this president has put together such massive debt, but we're going to have to cut a lot, and that suggests a very transformational approach to what's happening in Washington.
And you'll be able to put together a coalition from the Democratic and the Republican Party to push forward that transformation?
Well, I did have the experience of working with a legislature that was 85% Democrat, and they realized we couldn't go on the way we were going, and I got enough of them to come together that we were able to scale back our spending. I think that can happen at the federal level. I will do everything in my power to make it happen. Obviously, it would be helpful if we had a Republican majority in each house. I don't think you can expect that to last 4 years, but in my first year, I've got to get America on safe ground again so we can be confident that we're not going to have a nation that finds itself in fiscal and economic crisis.
One line to China. We're out of time here, but one line to the leadership in China, given market manipulation and subsidies to state enterprises. What can they expect from Mitt Romney?
They're going to be a responsible partner in world trade, but we are not going to let them keep cheating, stealing our intellectual property, hacking into our computers, and manipulating their currency. It's time for free and fair trade, not the way China plays it.
Mitt and Ann Romney, what a pleasure. It's great to see both of you. Good luck tonight. We'll be watching. We'll be holding you accountable, sir.
Thanks, Laura.
All right, great to see you. Take care of yourselves.